betrayal, of death approaching because of the man he had followed with unshakable devotion, the man he had fought beside countless times, had abandoned him? It was one thing to make a command decision, to choose to save millions over a single man, and quite another to live with yourself afterward. Arkarin Blackhawk had killed his friend, a man who had followed him everywhere he had led for years, with no regard whatever for the danger. And he knew he would carry the pain with him the rest of his days, along with all the other guilt I bear. The crew had surprised him, hearing his admissions about his past and granting him absolution without question. Astra had been right. They didn't care what he had been 25 years before. They accepted him for what he was, and he felt a gratitude to them he knew he could never express. The past didn't really matter. The present, though. In the end, Tark's death had done more to drive a wedge between Blackhawk and his crew than his heartfelt confession of the atrocities he'd committed as an Imperial general so long ago. Tark had been theirs, and for the first time any of the crew could recall, Blackhawk had chosen an outsider over one of their number. They understood the situation, and even Tark's brother, Tarnan, had agreed Blackhawk hadn't had a choice, and they all pledged their continuing loyalty. But the fact remained. The dynamic of the Claw was no longer the same. Accepting something intellectually was one thing, but his crew were human beings, not computers, and their emotions defied total control. No one behaved differently or showed any signs of discontent, but he could still feel it. They had been like a family before. Blackhawk had been the unquestioned commander, but there had been a special closeness among them all. Now there was a more formal feeling. He was their captain and they were his crew. It was something no one else could have seen, something barely perceptible to an outsider. But it was real. Blackhawk knew it was real. And it hurt. "She looks great, doesn't she?" Ace's voice came from below, and Blackhawk turned to see his informal second-in-command climbing the ladder onto the bridge. He was his usual self, cocky as hell and radiating confidence. "She does indeed. I hardly recognize her." Blackhawk watched Ace hop off the ladder onto the spotless surface of the bridge's new metal floor. It was good to see him so active. He'd had a long and difficult recovery from the wounds he'd suffered on Castilla, but now he was back. Almost, at least. Blackhawk could feel the extra distance between them, just as he could with the others. He suspected Ace tried to rationalize away whatever he was feeling, but it was there despite his efforts. "Decisions have consequences, you old fool. You should know that better than anyone, and having no choice doesn't get you off the hook for being responsible for what you have done." He wondered if time would heal this invisible wound, and he decided he just didn't know. "So now that the Claw's ready, where are we going?" Ace walked across the deck, flopping down into his new chair. Blackhawk walked over to the command seat, but he stood behind it instead of sitting, his hands gripping the soft leather of the backrest. "Castilla, I guess," he said softly. "Aragona has been back there for months now, and against all odds he's managed to survive and regain his position. I don't want to give him too much of a free run, and we need to make sure everything is going smoothly. The bank isn't going to wait forever before sending someone else after him. He still owes them a lot of money." Ace took a deep breath, but he didn't say anything immediately. Blackhawk knew his friend couldn't be too anxious to return to Castilla. They'd been a few seconds from getting away from that world when Ace took the 2 shots that had almost finished him. He'd been 4 months recovering, and now he was being asked to go right back. "You really trust that piece of shit, Ark?" Blackhawk noticed an edge to Ace's voice when he mentioned Aragona. The Castilian gangster/politician was far from the most unsavory character the crew of the Claw had dealt with, though of course he was the only one who'd had his hands all over Katerina during the op. Blackhawk had noticed Ace and the Claw's resident cold-blooded assassin acting strangely toward each other. He was pretty sure it hadn't gone past a bit of carefully controlled flirtation, but if it had, or if it did in the future, he only wished them both the best. They seemed like an odd pairing to him, but they were certainly both capable of taking care of themselves, and they were 2 of the people he cared most about in all the galaxy. At least someone in the Far Stars might be happy. "Trust him?" Blackhawk replied. "By Chrono, no. But he's got the Far Stars Bank on his ass already, and he spoke directly to Marshal Lucerne, who promised to send a Celtiborian expeditionary force after him if he betrayed us." Blackhawk's voice deepened. "And I promised I'd kill him myself if he pulled something. I don't think he has the guts to betray both